All right, and welcome. We are live
Hey, hey,
again. So, hello, Luke. I'm
rock and
coming to you
roll,
from Bozeman, Montana.
Bozeman.
Yeah, I did a
Oh,
trek from, flew into Bozeman on, I think it was Tuesday, drove to Helena, spoke to a bunch of agents in the surrounding area, about 100 of them, and then spoke with a bunch of owner and of real estate companies the next day, and then got here in Bozeman last night, and then I had to wake up early because I had other things to do. But that's what I'm doing in Bozeman.
fun stuff, man. I've never been up there. I've only made it to the southern part of the state, camping and stuff. But
Well, I would imagine it's a lot the same.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
they don't have big cities.
No, it's
In fact, Helena, being the capital of Montana, it's like a rule. It's really small. It's like really small, like so small, like Palm Springs small. That's how big their airport is.
mm,
Yeah.
that's a good analogy.
So I didn't.
It's interesting. Like when you, I mean, especially coming from Southern California, you're like, really, this is it? Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can
And
appreciate their appeal here.
and cool place to visit. A lot of nice people. Everybody hunts. Had to come in this week because everyone and boat. It was getting in the anything later, and you mess up the whole hunting, and nobody shows up. Everybody hunts it.
That's funny. They're like, where's everybody? What, you're like, it's opening season. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
opening weekend.
Yeah. So got a lot of things going on. One thing that we tend to like to talk about technology and stuff like that. And I think that's important because of the fact that most people, I think they understand the value of it. I don't think they really understand the value of it, but the necessity need to understand it. And
Right.
the reason why I say that is I talk about, and you've heard me talk about this for years. Most of the time when and it's about how to magnetically attract buyers and sellers. And it is the same thing that you do. It's the same, we have the pretty much the same, probably the same talk track. We have the same belief system. And it's not a belief system because we've both done it in our own business. But
Right.
when I start talking to them about um, identifying their ideal client avatar, about the importance of being, I guess, for lack of a better term, popular, being that go to agent, getting the
Yeah.
attention, not being obscure. I have that saying that I often say is I have everyone raise their hand. I'm like, who here thinks that within a 3 to 5 mile radius of their home, where they live now, that there is somebody who is just thinking about maybe buying or selling a home? I said they haven't made the decision; they're just thinking about it. How many? The whole audience raises up, and then I
Everybody, right?
say, as you know, there is a 100% probability that if someone doesn't know that you exist on this planet, that you're getting that listing or you're getting that deal. It's just not going to happen. So, if we recognize the fact that in order to have a commission, you have to have a closing. In order to have a closing, you have to have a seller or a buyer. In order to have a seller or a buyer, you have to go on a listing or a buyer consultation. In order to do that, you've got to have a lead. In order to that, you got to have prospecting methods out. And in order to have prospecting methods out, the whole point is to have an offer and get out there and get people to know you. So the whole, there was another colleague that came up after me, very traditional. You gotta knock on doors. You gotta cold call prospects, and then they say you gotta build relationships. And here I am thinking, I'm like, okay, do you think that you're gonna build a relationship by knocking on a stranger's door at dinner time? Like, you already have one strike against you.
Right.
So,
That's
um,
funny.
so I think I got one of your automated emails in regards to what you're doing. It's been a while, so I'd like to get an idea of what you're doing with your agents, just kind of a what and why, you know, because you're focusing on agents, you're focusing on loan officers, you're focusing on technology. Are you having them build out landing pages, call to actions, download your free report, download your free list of homes? Are you having them do that?
Yeah. So I mean, there's always like some sort of variation or spin on that. Right now we have essentially what we're doing is we've put together listing funnels. So rather than marketing a list of homes or property report, literally just marketing listings attached with like copy, learn more about other properties in the area. So it's like there's this one, but also that. And this is just kind of trial and error of just software, actually. So using AI to create these listings to distribute amongst social, and which is great, doesn't cost any ads. There's zero ad spend. And
so what do you mean you're creating listings? You're creating a listing description? You're using AI to create a listing description, or?
I mean, it's like a single property website.
Got it.
Right. And so using it to create it and promote properties, and it could be a phantom property too, like a ghost property, or I call it like that. It's not like a specific listing, but just like images of general houses in the area. And for those, we're using more of like a monthly payment, monthly rent amount. So it's like, are you paying over this month much for rent? So that's gangbusters right now. I mean, we're talking insane traffic, free leads, quick conversions. So always testing, always dabbling. I mean, 3 months ago, it was like full on outbound AI phone calls, and that was I mean, that's still effective, but like, hey, what's kind of like the next evolution of where we can push the bar to?
It's interesting that everyone's always trying to figure out how to do something new and innovative and different and such. They want to they want to reinvent the wheel. And the single property websites, they've been around for forever. I mean, I can't remember a time where they didn't have them. I mean, even when I got in the business 26 years ago, the internet was around, and that was part of the thing that was actually starting to get used. But I think the challenge is, and I'm that guy that collects all marketing materials. Someone tells me something, I gotta, this. I now got a thicket like this. I've collected it for like 5 years. Couple thing I notice. Number one is the frequency has gone down where I live. I don't get a whole lot of marketing
direct mail
materials, direct mail from agents anymore. So that's number one. Number two is it seems like everybody's copying the same template. All it is like, hi, look, I have this property listed. There's no call to action on it. There's no download your free report. There's no download. There's no schedule an appointment. There's
not even a QR code.
Not even. Well, some of them have QR codes now, but it's just a standalone QR code. Like they're relying on somebody being curious to click on it.
Which works, to be fair. Curiosity or what?
I recommend that people do something like this, is that if you're going to send the time to actually spend the money and time and effort and resources, be very clear in your messaging. Here, home, 3-bedroom, 4-bath, home for sale. Come up with a better hook than that. Download your free property information. Take them to a landing page that you could retarget on. Give them a compelling reason. Or if you're going to send out a just sold postcard, download your free report on the top 10 things to know about buying a home in XYZ neighborhood.
Yeah.
But nobody does that. And so that's one of the things that they do. But I think a lot of them don't do that because they don't have the system set up to do that. It's not expensive. It's not hard. It is for somebody who has no money and has no idea on how to turn on a computer. But
right.
If you're going to, and those are the people who aren't going to succeed in this business anyways. You already started your business like that and you're 40 years in the business and you don't need to do it.
Right.
Or if you're starting the business and you don't have that knowledge, then you're probably not going to be very long because, I saw this post online and it was somebody coaching about prospecting, telephone prospecting. And a guy in the comments says, that's the truth. I closed 22 transactions last year from this. Now, I don't know what his median sales price is, but to me, where I started my career at, 22 transactions didn't pay. I had more month at the end of the money if I was doing 22 transactions. But then I started, but then I reverse engineered it. And because they had metrics and they had conversion ratios and they were doing this. And this was the time when I was asking you about the AI conversion metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it takes them 4 hours of prospecting a day based on the metrics they shared to get 22 deals. Now, to some people, 22 deals might be a lot. It would be in Southern California. 22 deals would be a lot. I think the median agent does like 9. Average sales price is $1 million. You're not going to be able to, those metrics that they use to get 22 deals, that doesn't exist in California. It's too much competition, too much diversity. It just doesn't. But then I started thinking about it. You're not going to scale. If you're spending 4 hours of prospecting on it and that equated to 22 deals, and you're saying that you're really, really good at what you do, you're not scaling from that. You've got to either A, increase staff to do this, to duplicate your efforts, or B, you've got to develop out some sort of lead generation system, marketing system, process to bring in more. Otherwise, you're stuck at 22. And that's kind of where that's what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Your calendar space is going to be, for the most part, most people's number one bottleneck. And the only way that you can increase that is by adding more human labor to have more sales conversations. And I mean, most of the time you look at it and it's like, a pyramid where you have, business development, sales development people doing cold calling, if that's what they're doing, right? Or some sort of outbound prospecting, and then people, a little bit higher pay grade, taking phone calls and consultations, your agents, and then so on and so forth. But that's there's no other way around it. Your leads, your calendar space, there's where's the throughput, increasing the throughput at the end of the day as well. It's the name of the game.
So, talking about, now we're in September and we're pretty much in the fourth quarter. As in real estate, we're in the fourth quarter because I have not found a market yet that the week before Thanksgiving to the week after Christmas, things just grind to a halt.
That's your fifth quarter, right?
That's my fifth season that I call.
Yeah.
I call it the holiday season. Now, in colder areas, it's extended because once snow comes down and it starts getting cold, people stay in their home. Houses don't show. People don't want to market,
Right.
and it's the have to sales, the need to sales. They're the ones coming onto the market. California, Southern California, not like that. We're pretty much the week before Thanksgiving, the week after Christmas. It's not that cold here. We don't have that much sunlight,
Right.
but it's not, it's definitely not, we don't have 4 feet of snow outside. But being the case, we're now in the fourth quarter crunch, right? Just like a basketball game. It's time to turn up the heat. If right now you have about 45 days, right now you have 45 days to work a client, to establish a client, to get them into escrow, if you're going to try and get something to close this month.
Right.
Everything becomes harder the closer it comes to Thanksgiving. People are checking out. People aren't working as many hours. People are traveling. The mindset's different. And
it's wild that it's wild to think to me right now, because it's like, you know, we're still, I'm still in the mindset of that it's still summer right now. Like I'm grasping on to summer still. And
well,
you're like,
I mean, you
right?
don't get that. I mean, you have to layer. I mean, is it a lot like Southern California, to whereas I know it gets colder, and it gets hotter, but
yeah, I mean, now through, I think now through October is a really good time of year weather-wise. But yeah, it's interesting to see that seasonality, you know, where, you know, even like Arizona in the summertime stuff slows down because it's too hot.
yeah.
You know, I found those patterns pretty interesting from just speaking with people. You're like, no, things slow down big time in the summer here. Like, oh, okay.
Well, that's interesting. It's a reverse season.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's just
That's how
too
it is
hot
in
to
Dubai.
do anything.
When I went
Too
to,
hot to
I
do
came in
anything.
off-season. Number one, the whole place in Dubai are expats, so a lot of them leave for the summer to go home and visit for summer vacation. But number two, it's so dang hot that a lot of the people want to leave and go somewhere cooler.
Yep.
And their on season's like, you know, winter. But what's interesting, and I just looked this up, you know, there's only 119 days left of 2024. That's it. 119 days. If you're going to put together like what we've talked about in prior videos, 100 days, it takes 100 days to do anything, to see any type of results. You've got 19 days to start. If you want to do a New Year's resolution to change something, if you want to enter next year into something better, you've got 19 days to get started. And quite honestly, you should not try and do anything probably during the holiday season. So you're actually if you want to eliminate the 45 days that we just talked about, the 6 weeks that we talked about,
Right.
You're actually already in that. You know, speaking of that, I started my own 100-day challenge. Remember how I wanted to close all my rings, and then from closing all my rings to adding 10,000 steps a day.
Okay.
Well, that added into walking in the morning, which turned into rucking, because now I wear a weighted pack. And that turned into doing 2-a-days, because now what I'm doing is calisthenic workouts. I'm doing exactly what I hated in the Marines, and it's now my older in life exercise regime.
You're like, apparently they were onto something.
Yeah. So I'm day 60 into it, day 60 of my 100-day commitment, and I've lost about 23 pounds, and I'm back.
Dude, that's awesome.
I'm back into a 1.6 handle. So, at least when I left, I'm traveling now, so you don't eat that well. It's really hard to eat well when you're traveling. You don't really have, you know, it's easier at home when you're in your system.
Right.
You need to have a system for everything. But the problem with having a system for everything, once something comes in and messes up your system, it's really hard. It's really hard to get things done.
I think by now you'd have travel mode Brett system for, you're like, okay, I land, I go to, something, and this, side note, there's, Hormozi had a series, and it was like Hormozi meals or something like that, but it was like the no excuse, here's how you can get 100 grams of protein no matter where you're at. I mean, I'm paraphrasing horribly, but yeah, it was like, okay, I'm in the gas station right now. Here's string cheese, beef jerky, and X, Y, and Z.
Is that on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm sure it's there. I'm sure you could look it up. But it was like it kind of hits the nail on the head for what you're talking about, where it's like, hey, no excuses. Here's you can get your macros, your protein, and so he's got like at least a couple dozen different variations of stuff like that is super duper practical.
How to eat like Alex Hormozi. Okay, that's a blog that's not his. Alex Hormozi diet revealed.
Dessert, virtually every.
He did a whole food series on.
Dude, I'm totally gonna watch that. Totally gonna watch that.
Yeah, it's good for, kind of help plug that hole of what you're working with right now. But yeah, eating good and traveling's hard.
I'm very systematized. You know this. You're very systematized. And it really screws things up when you get out of your system. And then I had this thought about agents and loan officers who have no system. Like their system is just waking up and just figuring out the day.
Right.
Like I could not imagine operating that way, and that is not a viable growth plan.
No way. Are you a time boxing guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly because my day is so packed and I'm getting pulled in several different directions, and a lot of people have access to my calendar to schedule things.
Yeah.
That I have to time block out stuff to, get things done. What I've come to do though is look, Travel Brett was dialed in, but Travel Brett is how Brett got 20 pounds, added 20 pounds. So I'm in the process of restructuring Travel Brett to align with At Home Brett.
Right. Well, if you have your, if you have your MyFitnessPal, that's just, if it can be measured, it can be managed, right? So you have, a lot more accountability and just simple awareness around like, oh, okay, that Big Mac was 1,200 calories.
Yeah.
So I just hit half
for the next 2 days.
I just hit my half my calories for the day.
So I stopped off at the grocery store yesterday. What's hard is when you're eating with colleagues, when you're eating with agents, when you're going out.
Right.
That's the challenging part. And when you're getting something, you're eating the best that you can, but you have a variety of different stuff on your plate. It's easier when you're just doing simple. I stopped off. I grabbed pre-boiled eggs, some hard-boiled eggs. So that's what I typically have. I'm intermittent fasting, so I'll eat those at 11 o'clock. And then I just got a pre-made tuna and crackers that already has the calories on it. So that makes it easy. Eating at a large fast food, like I know what to order at Chick-fil-A. I know what I can order at Taco Bell. Those types of restaurants. But when you go to a local steakhouse and they're coming up with this, that, and the other. True story. I went to a local steakhouse. I did not want to have a 12-ounce filet made in a pound of butter. Didn't want that. So I had
90% of everything is made in butter at the restaurant anyway.
I had a grilled chicken Southwestern salad with a vinaigrette. I have no idea how many calories that had. I don't know what the vinaigrette had. I didn't know what. So I guesstimate because I'm trying to guesstimate high because I figure if I guesstimate high, I'll probably at least I would rather be guesstimate over than under.
Yeah.
And that, but I do. I use FitnessPal, but I'm figuring it out. But that's the key to systems. You just have to systemize your systems, Luke.
Yeah. Yep. After I think I did MyFitnessPal for probably about a good 120 days maybe, and then just got a really good idea of like how many calories was what, to the point where I'm like, okay, I can kind of do this manually type of thing and have a good idea.
Yeah.
Daily scale accountability.
All right. Well, we are at time, my friend.
Cool, man.
I know that you probably have a hard stop. Got to go to something
get
I
it.
do too. But it's always good to talk to you, and I will talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.
Rock and roll.